Chosen one, the silence has fallen heavy where noise once reigned. The sneers and jeers have dissolved into a chilling dread. Those who thrived on your pain now tremble in the shadow of their own undoing. Minds unravel, hearts race, chaos erupting as your voice dismantled their dark designs. They marched in defiance, blind to the truth that no mortal coalition can withstand the fire of a soul forged by the heavens. They challenged the eternal and now face the collapse of their own illusions. Remember this, the divine never stumbled. It was their arrogance that sealed their fate. Now the final act unfolds, their downfall total and irreversible, while you rise unshaken, stronger, and more radiant than ever before. Once, a shadowy conspiracy gathered, composed of soulless figures desperate to snuff out the blazing fire within your spirit. They moved with fear and fury, determined to silence your light before it could expose the depths of their long-hidden darkness. But their efforts only fueled your flame, turning their own hatred into the fuel for your unstoppable ascent. At the heart of the tangled web stood the architect, a seasoned karmic feminine force, perhaps a matriarch, a shadowed mother figure. For years, she wove her influence with threads of guilt and emotional manipulation, a master of silent, ruthless control. Deeply versed in the ancient and forbidden rites of mind domination, she had not only honed her own craft, but molded others into instruments of spirit-shattering power, passing down a legacy steeped in darkness and unyielding authority. The venom of manipulation coursed through the veins of your lineage, a toxic legacy handed down like cursed blood, threading its way until it touched you. Yet what they failed to foresee was this: your spirit was forged from unbreakable steel, never meant to bend or shatter. At the puppet master's side stood the enforcer, a familiar face, someone once trusted, twisted into a weapon of spiritual oppression, unleashed to tighten the chains meant to bind your soul. But your fire was destined to burn brighter than their darkest schemes. The shift from trusted companion to fierce adversary appeared abrupt, but the poison had quietly seeped into their soul over months, perhaps years. Once warm and genuine, they became cold, ruthless, and meticulously merciless, an unrecognizable shadow of their former self. The puppet master's grip was ironclad, and this enforcer moved perfectly to every twisted command. Around them swirled a crowd of shadows, false friends, traitorous kin, too weak to lead the charge but eager to lend their dark energy, whispers, and approval. They became the chorus of scorn, the spectators reveling in your pain, convinced they would witness your ultimate collapse. Their tactics were a refined dance of guilt and deception, crafted to unravel your trust in your own sacred intuition. They wove relentless gaslighting schemes, whispering lies that twisted your divine gifts into shadows of madness, while carefully orchestrated isolation severed you from every lifeline of encouragement and truth. But your spirit's clarity pierced through their false facade. Your spiritual discernment exposed the counterfeit alliance and the veiled motives lurking beneath, refusing to be blinded by their calculated illusions. While they believed their deceit was hidden, you were quietly gathering proof, tracking every slip, every rehearsed reaction, every moment perfectly timed to strike. This battle transcended the physical. It was an all-encompassing spiritual war, waged with dark rituals, binding spells, and psychic assaults aimed straight at your very essence. They conducted secret ceremonies meant to cage your blessings, stall your rise, and cling like leeches to your aura. The creeping sense of being watched was no delusion. It was the cold gaze of unseen sentinels, dispatched to observe your spiritual resilience and report back on the potency of their curses. Their dark rites unfolded with unwavering precision, ceremonies and sacrifices timed to the ebb and flow of moon phases, each chosen to amplify their sinister intent. They weaponized technology, transforming social media and virtual networks into digital altars, channels for their collective will to converge and strike at the heart of your sacred purpose. But in their arrogance, they overlooked the immutable laws of spirit. Their ignorance twisted their power against themselves, turning their very schemes into the catalysts of their own destruction. They assumed that overwhelming shadow, multiplied by their numbers, could snuff out the radiant flame burning inside you. They counted on their collective darkness to overpower your light, blind to the truth that your bond with Source forged an unbreakable armor around your spirit. Every curse they unleashed, every venomous word they breathed, every malicious force they hurled was deflected, rebounding against your divine shield like arrows against unyielding steel, powerless to breach the sanctuary of your soul. The boomerang of fate struck with otherworldly exactness. Every curse they flung was hurled back, magnified by the unyielding hand of cosmic justice. As they played their petty games, convinced of their dark prowess, the heavens watched with amused contempt. You cannot battle the boundless power of Source with mere shadow tricks, nor can a sacred destiny be thwarted by flickering flames of cheap candles or hollow prayers pilfered in desperation. Their efforts were nothing more than a child's foolish jest against the eternal. Amid their fiercest onslaught, an extraordinary awakening ignited within your mind. Your supernatural discernment sharpened to a razor's edge, cutting through the fog of deception with unerring clarity. What others dismissed as chaotic bickering and coincidence unfolded before your eyes as a meticulously orchestrated campaign, a dark symphony of intent laid bare, exposing every calculated move behind their mask of chaos. Suddenly, patterns illuminated your mind like divine code cascading from the higher realms, downloads of truth straight from heaven's archives. With unshakable clarity, you mapped their tactics with near-scientific precision. The synchronized attacks, the echoing scripts passed from one mouth to another, and the uncanny access to your personal life, details you'd never spoken aloud. It was no coincidence. It was a blueprint of betrayal, and you saw it all. Revelations surged through you like tidal waves of divine intelligence, each download peeling back layers of deception with surgical precision. Their secrets, once buried in shadows, were exposed in vivid flashes, visions during stillness, prophetic dreams that bled into waking life, and an inner knowing so fierce it felt like déjà vu from a future already written. Your third eye didn't just open, it erupted, blazing like a celestial sun, casting light into every crevice they believed was safe from sight. Suddenly, it all crystallized. This was never mere personal drama. What you were facing was a high-level spiritual war, a tactical campaign launched with military precision, and you were not collateral damage, you were the target. Your presence, your light, your very existence was a threat to the dark systems they served. Strategic awareness surged through you like a spiritual war map unfolding in real time. The truth didn't just arrive, it detonated, igniting your consciousness like a divine reactor reaching critical mass. Every deception they spun, every web of manipulation they wove, illuminated in your mind like flashing warning lights on a battlefield. The lies no longer had the power to confuse. You saw straight through them, each falsehood unraveling before your eyes with divine precision. Then came the visions, clear, unshakable prophecies cascading into your spirit like thunder from the heavens. You were shown the ending before it arrived, names, faces, and the exact ways their own traps would ensnare them. Justice wasn't a distant hope. It was a script already written, and you were watching it unfold scene by scene. Their strategy was parasitic by design, energy vampirism disguised as chaos, manufactured to keep you locked in a state of depletion. They orchestrated endless cycles of drama, each crisis a calculated ploy to siphon your light, your peace, your divine focus. Like addicts craving your energy, they thrived on your distraction and exhaustion, feeding off your compassion while offering none in return. But the true rot showed in how they reacted to your pain, not with empathy, but with satisfaction. Your suffering wasn't an unfortunate consequence to them, it was the goal. They fed on your anguish like it was a feast, finding twisted pleasure in your setbacks, treating your heartbreak like a spectacle for their own gratification. Your tears were trophies, your solitude their warped sense of triumph. But their greatest miscalculation was mistaking your momentary suffering for final collapse. They confused your human wounds with spiritual weakness, never realizing that what they perceived as your breaking point was actually your transformation. While they celebrated what they thought was your fall, the divine was preparing your rise. They rejoiced too soon, blinded by their own ignorance, unable to grasp the sacred distinction between a trial and a downfall. What they saw as collapse was actually consecration, heaven refining you in divine fire, stripping away illusions, attachments, and distractions that no longer aligned with your destiny. While they mocked your perceived weakness, the Most High was making space for your elevation, chiseling you into the vessel worthy of the power you were always meant to carry. As they reveled in your solitude, convinced you had been abandoned, Source was orchestrating divine alignments, clearing the path for soul-anchored allies, protectors, and visionaries to step into your life. Their spiritual ignorance rendered them blind to the sacred power you carried all along. They mistook your compassion as weakness, when it was proof of your spiritual mastery. They read your silence as surrender, not knowing it was the quiet before your rise. And in your forgiveness, they saw defeat, never realizing it was the very force that secured your victory. They were unprepared for someone whose strength didn't stem from domination or deceit, but from an unshakable connection to infinite source. Your power was pure current, divine truth surging through your words with the clarity of thunder, cracking across a silent sky. Every intuitive warning you spoke, every revelation about their hidden intentions, landed with surgical precision. What they dismissed as paranoia was prophecy. What they mocked as delusion was divine intelligence unfolding right before their eyes. Every word you spoke echoed with divine certainty, and time became the witness to your truth. One by one, your predictions unfolded with uncanny precision, hidden motives exposed, secret alliances revealed, and masked intentions dragged into the light. Your voice carried the weight of the unseen realm, each declaration rippling through the spiritual and material planes until it crystallized into undeniable reality. What once sounded like warning became fulfilled prophecy, and even the doubters were left stunned by the supernatural accuracy of your insight. As your voice carried the unyielding force of truth, the very fabric of reality shifted in response, stars realigned, paths redirected, and circumstances bent to the power of your words. The cosmos itself acknowledged the sacred authority embedded in your declarations, orchestrating events that echoed every truth you spoke. Your truth was no weapon of anger or retaliation, but a finely honed instrument of cosmic balance, delivering justice with flawless precision, restoring order where deception once reigned. Your truth sliced through their web of deception like a blade tempered in the furnace of unwavering reality. What took them years to fabricate collapsed instantly beneath the sheer force of your fearless words. Each honest declaration was a strike that shattered their carefully built facades, leaving nothing but fragments of falsehood in its wake. Your bravery in shining light on their lies ignited a chain reaction. Public revelation surged forward, unstoppable, fueled by the undeniable power of your courage to speak without compromise. The instant you ceased shielding their illusions and embraced your own sacred integrity, their fragile masks began to shatter. Your fearless voice unleashed a torrent of truth that swept away their fabricated stories like dust before a storm. Every revelation unfolded with perfect divine timing, neither too soon to be dismissed nor too late to miss its mark, but exactly when the heavens decreed it would strike with unstoppable force. Once your truth resonated with celestial authority, no earthly power could hinder its unfolding. Guardians of light stood ready, weaving the threads of fate to ensure each prophecy you spoke manifested flawlessly, sealing their downfall and heralding your rise. The pivotal moment came when the heavens declared the battle over, no longer willing to tolerate the relentless, orchestrated attacks against a sacred vessel of divine purpose. Like a tempest unleashed from the highest heavens, divine intervention crashed down with unstoppable force, altering the very energy that surrounded you. The shift was so profound that even those untouched by spiritual sight could sense the weight of the change. God Himself entered the fray, standing firmly beside His chosen on earth, turning the tide with celestial power and unwavering protection.